I'm Robbie Nock, and the Director of Entrepreneurship and Professional Practice here at Art Center. And it's a pleasure to welcome you to day 2 of Creative Tech Week. Hopefully many of you have joined our sessions yesterday and are here for the sessions today. 9 o'clock this morning with Thomas Mueller, and then at 10 a.m. immediately following with Lemaire Walker and Magdalena Pollock. So with that, I'll hand it over to Christine Bown, our Vice President of Industry Engagement and Professional Development, and she will introduce Thomas and host the conversation this morning. So thank you for joining us, and please stay tuned for the rest of the week. We'd love to see you. And Christine, take it from here.
Thanks, Robbie, and welcome everyone. So as Robbie mentioned, today is our second day of our inaugural Creative Tech Week. The theme for today is perspectives from our global creative tech community. And I'm thrilled to introduce you to our Art Center alum, Thomas Mueller. As many of you know, the Art Center community spans the globe, with our students, alumni, and industry partners making huge impacts on the way we live, work, play, and pushing the boundaries of the creative and business fields they contribute to. Art Center's partnerships outside the US include Japan, China, Taiwan, our Art Center campus, which was around for 15 years based in Vevey, Switzerland, to our current global hubs in Berlin, Beijing, Shenzhen, and Seoul, South Korea. Our students, faculty, and partners bring their diverse cultural backgrounds and insights to enrich our community. And today, I'm very honored to introduce one of our esteemed alumni leaders in Europe, Thomas Mueller. Thomas currently is the Global Design Lead for Accenture Interactive. Before we get started, I'm going to share a bit about Thomas. Over the last 20 years, he's helped client-side and agency design and innovation teams bring creativity, simplicity, elegance, and rigor to their practice. He's worked with a range of megacorps to nonprofits, CEOs, CMOs, CDOs, and everything in between. As a huge fan of simplicity, Thomas loves using design as a process to unlock value, understand people, integrate technology, create emotional connections, and ultimately enable magical experiences. Thomas believes that successful design puts people at the center and wants to give people something to smile about while enabling the quality and equality of human lives. Thomas is extensively involved in building deep client relationships, enabling innovative team environments, and infusing human-centered design practices into Accenture's DNA. Thomas currently lives in Munich with his partner and loves soaking up the city's culture or scouting the next cycling challenge in the nearby Alps. Welcome, Thomas Mueller.
Thank you, Christine. Wow, it's still to this day a little odd sometimes to hear this and listen to that, but I guess I've gotten to this place because of where I started, and that's what I'm extremely happy to join this morning hour with those of you who are already on. So let's do the quick technology magic to share my screen, because
Perfect.
I brought some things with me, and hopefully.
Yep, it's just getting started. And Thomas, I'll just interrupt you just to share that you are a graduate of what is now referred to as media design practices.
Absolutely. So media design practices is where it all started, before it then continued. Sort of like this notion from studio to global consultancy. This journey has happened on multiple levels. It happened for me a number of times before I now hold this role and get to work with, and I like to say, get to work for a lot of our amazing and extremely talented and passionate design teams around the world. I started after Art Center in New York with a very small team. We were truly a tiny studio of initially just 5 designers at a company that back then in the mid-90s started and was called Razorfish, and we saw sort of like this journey from just a handful, 5 to over 2,000 people. Fast forward about 20 years, in 2015, I joined this team, which a number of years earlier was the small group of people outside of London, on the beautiful grounds of a sheep farm of one of the founders. And those were the very, very early days of Fjord, a design team that had just joined Accenture Interactive. I joined this team because some of the folks in this picture, this young gentleman and this gentleman here, and Celia, we all had worked in previous lives at what I mentioned before, Razorfish. So to me, the power even of meeting people, building strong craft-based, culture-based, shared interest-based relationships with designers, and maintaining those as professional relationships, as friends, friendship has been a common theme, and to this day is really important. So then you fast forward from this beautiful shot on a sheep farm to this, which is 2018. From these 5 designers, we had grown to this group, which literally was about 1,100 designers getting together in Berlin for our annual pre-pandemic gathering of all of the designers from nowadays over 30 studios around the world, to connect, to slow down, to share projects, to learn new craft, and to also, to be very honest, to have fun and sort of like resettle and create the North Star for the next few years. We do all of that within sort of like this context. This is like everyday life around the world.
I just wanna let you know that I could never let you go. Hey, you mean so much, can't imagine life without you. So I just wanna let you know, hey, I can't get enough of you. You make me weak 7 days a week. Oh, come the highest mountain, swim across the sea to help you see we're meant to be. Oh, we're meant to be. You're meant to be with me. Yeah. We're meant to be. I just wish that time would stop every time we meet and get to talk, shedding more light on the unknown from the start of the night to what can you hope. I just wish that time would stop. Yeah. I can't get enough of you. You make me weak 7 days a week. Oh, on the highest mountain, swim across the sea to help you see where you're meant to be.
So design all day, as you can see, was the motto of this film. And I just wanted to give you, a feel for the culture of this team that has grown from a small studio to designers that are part of a global design consultancy. And even during those extremely challenging, last 18 months, soon 2 years, maintaining that culture, investing in it, trying to stay connected is is and has been such a key, ingredient of keeping everybody together, keeping people focused on big ideas, on vision, but also on continually raising our craft. And why do we do that? Because we are at the core of helping Accenture Interactive's overall mission, which you see here is all about, inventing, designing, building, communicating, and often for some of our clients, not just here's a program, here's a project, and then they are off on their own, but often we also run these experiences for our clients. At the end of the day, and that's what's boldened here, what we really care about is work that improves the quality, but also the equality of people on this planet, be it in companies, in cities, in communities, in countries. And our passion is to not just be satisfied and be happy with small, marginal, or incremental improvements. We really, and I hope you got a sense for that through the joy and the diversity of that video. It is about making lives better and doing that, but ultimately, delivering on all of the good that's in technology, but also it's not about technology only. It's about the promise of technology and the ingenuity in all of us, in all of us humans. So what I hope to do is over the next, 45 minutes to take you on a journey, to take you on a walk across projects that I selected from these design teams around the world. You'll get a view into some beautiful work from North America, from Latin America, from Europe, and also from Asia. I think you'll see a lot of commonalities in there, but hopefully in the nuances also you'll see some differences. I'll start out with a few examples that are largely, and I intentionally am starting there, that are largely sort of like at the intersection of the revolution that mobility and the automotive industry is going through, and in a way, creative use of data, creative use of technology in order to deliver new experiences for passengers or for drivers, or in the purchasing experience of buying a new car. So this first example is some work that we've done in Germany with Audi, and it's in particular looking at what could entertainment today and going forward inside of a vehicle be like. Could it be more immersive? Could it sort of like adapt in real time the content that you experience to the way or to the location where you are driving, but at the same time also address often the issue that passengers in a car have, that they get motion sick, or in this particular instance, as you'll see, we're playing with virtual reality, with a virtual reality, a VR headset, address VR sickness. So take a look at this first example. So Ola Ride was launched at CES in Las Vegas a couple of years ago, and as you can see, it just it amazingly blends VR environments with the world around us, the driving style, the driving location, the motion, speeding up, stopping, etc. The driving behavior is what's influencing and driving, no pun intended, the content in the VR world, which can range from pure entertainment to gaming environments. Launched with a lot of surprise and success at CES, and since then spun out into a standalone content entertainment business, often automotive players. So quite interesting. From there, I just want to take you, and again, within the Art Center environment, I think depending on which majors or which alumni are attending, I think you'll quite like this as well. This is taking a look at in a world where ideally everybody wants and is looking for highly customized experiences, a product, in this case, a car that is ideally as personalized and customized to what you prefer. But at the same time, we also know global shipping, the global supply chains are under a lot of stress, and many of them have been disrupted. The inventory that car dealers keep on their lot is extremely limited. So visualizing and creating an emotional reaction to what your next car could be through incredibly powerful rendering capabilities that can be customized and also placed in different virtual environments is what this work for BMW shows. So essentially, the entire fleet of the BMW brand portfolio has been converted into digital twins, and with this real-time rendering technology that we've also stood up for them, we're enabling them to do what you see now here, which is a car out of the BMW M line that is placed in incredibly real environments that are part render, part content that we shot on location, with a lot of the elements that dress this environment, as you can see here, the BMW M Festival, etc., that are all built into this environment. So it's a branded environment for this particular vehicle. And the last step that I'll just show you, give you a sense for here, this is also on YouTube, is during the pandemic and even subsequently, this is the automotive dealer. This is a an interested customer who is assembling this car, which you're seeing here in real time at this incredibly high resolution detail. So very, very real-time use of data, of rendering technology, and bringing people together for experiences that essentially blend the sort of like border between reality and virtual reality. So from the automotive space, I'll go into a very different one, which is looking at storytelling, and in particular the creative use of data in order to bring untold stories to life or help people capture their stories of life. This first piece of work, which was done by my colleagues in the UK, between London and Dublin, is work for the Times of London, the newspaper, for their Voices Unheard segment. And they looked at the final speech that John F. Kennedy was never able to give, because, as you all know, unfortunately, on his way in Texas to the place where he was going to speak that morning, he was assassinated. So we have, through creative use of data and AI, recreated that speech, and you're going to be able now to listen to John F. Kennedy as if he would have had a chance to actually give this particular
On the 22nd of November, 1963, President Kennedy was assassinated as his motorcade made its way to the Dallas Trade Mart.
There has been an attempt on the life of President Kennedy.
It is true. Our president has been shot.
What if technology had advanced so much so as to allow JFK, on the centenary of his birth, to finally deliver the hugely important Trade Mart speech? As part of the Times Find Your Voice campaign, we had to review 831 JFK speeches and interviews and create a database of 116,777 phonetic sound units, split into 233,554 half phones. To blend small speech units together, it helps to have very consistent data. For JFK, this was a major challenge. It was almost as if each recording was in a different environment and of a different quality, so combinations of sounds were selected and smoothed together by months of painstaking sound engineering, allowing us to finally hear the Trade Mart speech delivered in JFK's own voice.
In a world of complex and continuing problems, in a world full of frustrations and irritations, America's leadership must be guided by the lights of learning and reason, or else those who confuse rhetoric with reality and the plausible with the possible will gain the popular ascendance with their seemingly swift and simple solutions to every world problem.
We tracked down people who were waiting at the Trade Mart that day and played it to them.
We ask, therefore, that we
It gave me
make use
chills
of our responsibility.
just to hear his voice again. Oh gosh.
Data usually sharpens a story, but for JFK, it made it possible to actually tell the story and allowed over 1 billion people to finally hear JFK unsilenced. Since the launch of JFK Unsilenced, this audio technique has been adopted by numerous companies around the world to help ALS sufferers re-find their voice.
So I think very, very special project, wonderful project. It gives you, every time I watch this film, it gives me the goosebumps. And I just think it's a testament to creativity, to the imagination of designers and storytellers, and in this case, to just incredibly focused use of technology to create a reality that unfortunately at that particular day in history didn't happen. The next example is some work that we had started to do on our own, and we were shopping for a client who wanted to put this idea to use. At the heart of this project, we were fascinated or obsessed by how could we use all of the smart speakers that are now living in many people's homes in order to combat loneliness. Too many people around the world often our parents or our grandparents, elderly, friends and family members are living on their own and are suffering from loneliness. Could a smart speaker become a way for them to live with less loneliness, share their stories, share their memory, and begin to package it for others, be it family members that for whatever reason cannot be in touch with them. So let's take a look at that.
Forskning visar nämligen att ofrivillig ensamhet är mer farligt för hälsan än till exempel alkohol, rökning och stillasittande.
250,000 people live alone in Stockholm, making it the loneliest city on earth. Many of them have lived extraordinary lives and have unique stories to tell, but far from everyone gets the opportunity to share their life story, and few have someone willing to listen. We wanted to change this. After over 2 years of research and development, we finally successfully launched the patent-pending Project Memory Lane.
Hej, jag är här för att hjälpa dig dela din livshistoria.
Memory Lane is the world's first reversed engineered voice assistant that can drive a meaningful conversation and ask personal questions.
Hej, kan du fortsätta berätta om din stora kärlek?
And understand the relationship between the answers that then can trigger a relevant follow-up question.
Ska vi fortsätta prata om dina starkaste barndomsminnen?
Memory Lane is your personal biography based on frequent voice interactions. It will populate a memory graph, a digital version of your memories.
My grandmother is 82 years old. My son is 2 years old. They will never have an opportunity to really talk each other.
Memory Lane is now the world's first co-authored book between man and artificial intelligence that each participant received as a unique physical manifestation of their interesting life stories. Through Memory Lane AI, the conversations will be translated into a world's first bi-weekly podcast series together with a Google Home voice assistant.
Creating a link with an old person, not just telling whoever asks what's the weather in Paris, for example.
So, the Memory Lane is a unique chance to transfer who you are, your stories, with the next generation. Together, we make Stockholm a warmer place.
Okej, låt oss gå till nästa fråga.
I think in particular that part where my colleague in the south of France talks about his 2-year-old daughter and his 83-year-old grandmother is a very moving moment, and it shows just, the thoughtfulness, but also the brilliance of using hacking, creating a reverse approach to how we typically interact with the Google Home in this instance, but then furthermore going all the way to actually creating a physical artifact, in this case, a book. The next project I'll show you deals again with creative use of data. And here, a program that we did together with and for Apple Music and Warner Music. We were in particular, fascinated by how ineffective and boring for kids with speech impediments the current approach to speech therapy is, and it hasn't changed in decades. But kids love anybody, but in particular singing, listening to their favorite music, following along that music is something incredibly powerful. So what we created are not playlists, but say lists. Again, the audience is people, especially kids, who are struggling with the current approach to speech therapy.
One in 12 young people have some form of speech impediment. The best way of overcoming one is through repetition, practicing problem sounds over and over and over. The problem is, repetition is boring. The Bogo Barrel Road, the Bogo Barrel Road have trouble with pronouncing those words. The Bogo Barrel Road around the railroad, it's boring. Except when it happens in music. That's where playlists come in. We created an algorithm to analyze popular music for patterns of repetition that are helpful for speech therapy. Songs where particular sounds occur in particular patterns that are helpful for overcoming an impediment. Apple Music then conducted the single largest data analysis of song lyrics ever, scanning millions of tracks to isolate the songs with therapeutic value. These songs were curated by Warner Music and weaved into playlists. Playlists where singing along can help your speech. A playlist of songs for ta or ka, da, cha, fa, and more. The playlists live on Apple Music, the place where people like me go when we want to sing along. Playlists, a collaboration by Warner Music and Apple Music.
I love this project because it addresses, something that doesn't get a lot of attention, and that young boy, it just is representative for many young humans as well as older humans in many ways, who are challenged with speech and are bored by the current approaches. So fun, but again, the quality and equality of human lives, right, is the theme that I mentioned at the beginning. I want to carry on, especially here, the emphasis is on the quality of life. Here's some work that we did in Europe with the Scott Morgan Foundation. The Scott Morgan Foundation is a foundation that was put in place by and around Dr. Peter Scott Morgan, who suffers from what's called motor neuron disease. Dr. Peter Scott Morgan, or Peter, who we got to know very well, calls himself the first complete, full human cyborg. And you will, in this film, which summarizes the work that we have done for him, which gives him huge quality of life, you'll get a sense for why he calls himself the human cyborg.
6 people are diagnosed with motor neuron disease every day in the UK alone. Dr. Peter Scott Morgan was diagnosed with motor neuron disease just 2 years ago. He is now almost totally paralysed and cannot speak. But like all MND sufferers, his heart still beats and he can use and move his eyes. Verbal Spontaneity Personality Retention is a collaborative project between the Scott Morgan Foundation and 4 partner companies. Building on Stephen Hawking's original ACAT software, it set out to redesign the next generation of assistive software for MND sufferers, using affordable hardware, keeping it all open source, accessible for everyone, for free, across the world. Our role within the team was to redesign the user interface, so we spent time with Peter, understanding his environment, his needs, and routines. We spent time researching the eye and studying academic papers. We quickly realized keyboards are designed for hands and not eyes. Inspired by the gaming world, we redesigned the keyboard, organizing the letters to reflect frequency of use. We added shortcuts to the outside, including alarms for attracting attention or in case of emergency, with quick links to emotions for his avatar, and incorporated the predictive text. Based on our needs data from in situ research, we built out a customizable situational phrasebook that included a namebook and common phrases, helping him access them quickly depending on where he is and who he is talking to. This one interface makes it possible for Peter to control his computer, It connects and controls several partner technologies, enabling him to talk in his own voice, express himself through his avatar. The interface is easier, faster, more comfortable, so he's more present and can react in real time. But most importantly, it allows him to retain those most human of characteristics: communication and personality.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Scott Morgan, but you guys can call me Peter.
And again, it's such a privilege to be able to work with, for, and among these designers around the world and these colleagues who solve. This is a very individual, but obviously a scalable solution. As you heard in the beginning, Dr. Peter Scott Morgan, he's not the only one. This is just one of the many heart diseases around the planet, where, you know, the use of the combination of creativity and technology can have a significant impact on, in this case, quality of life. The next example is work that is looking, it's again in the health, quality of life sort of like theme, and it is looking specifically at a very large population around the world who suffers from migraine. So, you know, you either have medication or you have medication and you abruptly have to stop whatever you're doing to get home, to get to a quiet room or dark room. But every time a migraine hits, the individual's life is very quickly, rapidly turned upside down. So this, this work looks at ultimately the combination of how medication, but specifically a digital companion, can support the individual as she or he is going through a migraine attack. The work was done for a life sciences company whose, you know, history and their main focus is obviously, in this case, on medication that is helping people who are suffering from migraine, but they had also very much through their research identified the needs, as shown in this film, of somebody who's a migraine sufferer in the moment when it hits, and sort of like all of the aspects around it, be work, family, friends, the conditions in your home, ordering food, etc. They are actually all part of the problem at this point in time. So we've developed, based on a lot of observation and human research, ethnography work, prototyping, testing, iterating, essentially this initial very simplistic, intentionally simplistic solution that is launching in select markets as a digital companion for migraine sufferers. So we'll leave life sciences. I want to take a quick look into, we've got about 17 minutes left, a quick look into banking, which for many people around the world certainly can also be often a very frightening or stressful moment. This is really, in my mind, in the sea of sameness in the financial services world, special work that was done by my colleagues in London, again here in this case, that is looking very differently at banking and a way ultimately to help the bank customer do money better.
The big banks have been growing organically for years, and they've turned into these big institutions that are expensive to run. They're also built on old technology, which means they'll never be able to offer the real-time services that people have come to expect in today's world. It's a widespread problem in the industry, and RBS know they need to change in order to survive. So they've come to Fjord London asking for a new way of banking, firstly to retain the customer base, and then to grow it.
Our team looked at the spend data of 1 million people. We found that 50% of the UK spend what they earn and have less than 2 weeks' worth of savings. These people are just one bit of bad luck away from disaster.
We want to create a new way of banking that helps people do money better. After conducting over 100 customer interviews and studying behaviors and needs, we identify 5 common enemies that stop us being good with our money. And we also identify 7 principles that help people do money better.
So our service strategy has simply been to help people confront their money enemies, whilst at the same time adopting these do money better principles.
We have a unique opportunity to help people be better with their money. The legacy banks have never helped people in this way, so you could say we're at a new dawn of banking. Our logo represents this new dawn. Based on a huge yellow sun, a big ball of light, a pop of optimism and hope.
The Bow brand was created from the service out. Firstly, we're an intuitive utility that helps you understand money clearly, but we also need to drive better money behaviors.
To do this, we totally needed to be loyal, wise, helpful, non-judgmental and fun. To deliver this brand persona, we use a treatment that people already use in the analog world. We overlay a biro treatment to help people understand the things that matter to them now.
Our 2-year roadmap starts with a best-in-class current account that improves day-to-day spend decisions by connecting people better with their money. Over time, we'll plug in a suite of features that helps people do money better and promotes better money behaviours.
The reason I'm excited about this project is because we get to think about banking in a completely new way and also build that infrastructure in a way that fit this day and age. But I think most importantly, kind of rethink what it should be or should mean to be a customer of a bank in 2018. And this is a real opportunity for us to kind of go, actually, if you're a bank and you're about helping people do money better, using technology in a clever way to enable new types of behavior, what would that be like?
It's a new way of banking based on really deep insights about people's behavior and attitudes to money. From a Fjord perspective, it actually ticks off many of the big boxes in terms of our vision. So it is a living service, it is living design, it's based on true understanding of individuals and their needs. All of those things make it actually sort of a perfectly formed package in the world of Fjord. I'm very proud of it.
wouldn't it be nice if we'd all had a banking experience like that every day? So just keeping an eye on time, I'm going to skip forward and show you two final projects that are also favorites of mine. This next one, which is looking at travel and one specific category of travel that's slowly coming back. It is what happens on a cruise ship when you allow designers together with technologists to completely reimagine the experience for the passengers and for the crew on a cruise ship. And in many ways, just think about the sheer size of this environment that you're designing for, with, and you're getting to prototype in.
So we want to get back to the purpose of why people take cruise experiences, which is really to connect with other people, other cultures, other destinations around the world. Because what we want to do is create a new level of service that is enabled by technology, but not technology-centric. Ultimate strategy is to make a cruise personalized, make it simple, and make it hassle-free.
You are going on a journey when you go on a cruise ship, but you're also going on a journey of experience and of adventure. And we wanted to create a product experience that it itself was like a journey. On the digital side, we have the compass, and on the physical side, we have the medallion. In a sense, it's like a modern day currency. It's technically the most advanced currency you can imagine. It empowers you to get into places automatically. You can buy things with this, and it enables personalized experiences. Each medallion is personally assigned to each guest, so their profile is connected to the medallion. Just by walking up to your stateroom and opening the door and walking inside, you don't need to bring out your phone, you don't need to tap in a code.
If you think about your mobile phone, you have the hardware, and then you have the operating system, and you have the apps that sit on top of the operating system. So using that as a metaphor for what we're doing, this ship is one large mobile device. And with that, we wrap with an operating system, which is our experience platform, and then we stage all of our experiences on that platform.
Our engineering team is in Seattle. Our design team is in San Francisco. Our algorithmic science teams are spread across the world.
What this new technology means to me is just that ability, when it all comes together, to really connect with that guest at a totally different level. It's not just revolutionary for the cruise industry, it's going to be revolutionary for the hospitality industry, and I think that's what's going to be very exciting.
I think the most exciting thing is the enablement of the crew that's going to take place, and taking away endless amount of paperwork and spreadsheets, and the crew are going to be so relieved that it's going to just take service to the next level, and that's what's going to give excellent, wonderful vacation experience to our guests.
We always heard this concept about creating a smart city. So a ship is a floating city. We have our own power plant, we have our own phone company, we have our own internet services, we have our own grocery store, we have our own bank. So we have everything on a ship that you'll find in the city, and we are creating the first intelligent city in the world. It just happens to be floating.
Our designers, the design team, multiple design teams, spent the better part of a year and a half working with this client up to the day when the ship that you see in this film left for the first time the port, enabled by essentially this really seamless, magical new experience on the ship. The designers joined this first tour, which in a way was riding, traveling in and on their own very first prototype that they were lucky to create, up to the point of when the world obviously slowed down or stopped because of the pandemic. Carnival had retrofitted or enabled, upgraded, you could say, installed the new operating system to the last I had heard about 10 ships, and their goal was many more across their different brands and different categories of fleet. So what started on a piece of paper on a whiteboard, in this case, landed not just as an app, but on an entire ship. The last thing, Christine, that I pick out, and then we still have probably a little bit of time for conversation, is a project that we've done for Porsche, and I'll pick that one out because, as Christine spotted, it also has one of our alumni in this film as well. So this is some work that we've done for Porsche, where they were essentially intrigued around how could the fanship, the passion for Porsche as a brand be migrated into and have value attached in the form of digital assets. You could be a Porsche owner and you would be interested in also, you know, NFTs nowadays. This project is a couple of years ago, the NFT version of a Porsche, or you might not be a Porsche owner. So this was really, really fun work, again, summarized in a film.
The perfect car experience has been our destination for over 70 years. But how will we meet the future? With more ideas. Can we make Porsche's assets as valuable in the digital world as they are in reality? Felix Hagemeyer and Anton Versteeg are exploring a future. With the digital design agency Fjord, they explored what people find desirable in Porsche cars, in physical ownership of something people cherish and love, and how to bring these feelings into the virtual space. With agile sprint and rapid prototyping methodology, the team took all of these insights and made a single prototype, testing one final value proposition. A digital collectibles platform to own, acquire, and trade unique artifacts. With this, the team went to Asia to test and market. We learned that it's less about the actual Porsche than the stories and dreams a Porsche represents.
You're buying something that you love, and then this love can be extended to something more.
I feel like that's kind of what collecting is a little bit like. A lot of people end up getting into it. They purchase one, and then after they get that, they satisfy that urge, and then they already have the next goal.
Let's let our users tell their stories. And let's encourage trading so everyone can enjoy this. We can enable great stories and embed into unique assets, assets that our fans and our new fans can collect and trade with each other.
So pause here and hope, as I promised at the beginning, I was going to take you on a rapid walk across the globe, different types of projects, always with the common thread of creative use of data, intersection of technology and design in order to improve the quality or equality of human lives. Making films and telling stories, I think, is another key piece that you probably picked up in here as a way of early on to excite and ignite in many ways the vision of your teams and your clients. And then later on, for occasions like this, to be able to, again, tell sort of like the kernel, the essence of a particular project or initiative. Christine.
Thank you, Thomas. That was incredibly inspiring. And I feel like we just went on a little world tour with you, which was wonderful. We do have a few minutes for questions. If anyone wants to pop any questions into the chat, I'd be happy to read those to Thomas. And the alum in the Porsche video was Sasha Selimpov, who's, I think he may have even left Porsche now, but he's a very successful automotive designer and Accenture alum from the campus in Pasadena. Safir commented on the first project or the JFK project, I think, just he was really inspired by that. But does anyone have any questions for Thomas? I see we have a lot of students here, and I know, you know, looking at the career that you've built, Thomas, it's very inspiring. I think I loved in the presentation you starting with the small team at Razorfish and then growing into this global, you know, powerhouse of designers. And it seems maybe I guess I'll just throw my question out there. Can you share, working with teams all around the world, and having healthcare, finance, automotive, mobility, what are some of the connected, I guess, threads between these global teams that you feel make them a good fit for Accenture, Fjord, and how do you galvanize people around an idea in these disparate areas?
Yeah, I mean, what we've learned is, there are not all industries are equal, not all clients and not all brands are equal. So you have to be very disciplined at the end of the day to pick the industries or the sort of like big global human themes that you are good at, your own teams, all of the colleagues around the world who have every day a different choice to work at Google, to work at Amazon, to work anywhere, or to work with us, and often in that partner with Google and Amazon. So have criteria that match your own purpose. Be disciplined then about what projects you take on or you create or you seek out that match back to these criteria, because if they are tied back to the reason of why you exist, human inequality, equality and equality of human lives, that's in a way a promise we make to everybody who decides to spend their time with us and work as a designer and create as a designer here. The other couple of, I guess, passing thoughts, I would say, when it comes to our teams, we put a huge emphasis on it is a team sport. It's not a hero sport. The way we work and the best work gets created today. Therefore, it's key, and especially as we've all been so virtualized, to put a huge emphasis on sharing best practices and best practices, as well as sharing failures. My failure may be one that the next team can avoid. And then from day one on, here at Accenture Interactive, at Fjord, and before, I've learned both by having received feedback as a young designer in the wrong way, the importance of giving, listening to, or receiving feedback in order to build better teams, put the ingredient in for a very positive and productive culture, which does not mean don't address if something isn't right, but find the right framework in which we give feedback. What works, what can be improved, what might not work, what are the reasons for. It's so key to build teams and not just sort of like hero and everybody else organizations. And I think that's also what kept us largely together in those last 18 months.
Thank you, Thomas. We do have some questions. We're also just about out of time. So I think I'll read one, and then maybe what we can do is capture the questions and I can share them with Thomas, and maybe he can respond via email. We have Perla Serrato asked, says, fascinating level of work. What is the most useful advice you've ever received? And then there's a couple questions about mobility and future mobility trends, and whether you want to be have a deep level of skill in one area of discipline, or whether the multiple abilities is more preferred in your teams. So maybe we do the advice one, and then we thank Thomas, and then Duning and Kayun, we can respond over email.
Yeah. Best advice, and I like the idea if you send me the other ones and then I answer them. Sure. And you distribute them, so I'm not rushing through them. Yeah. The best advice I received, so much advice, but probably in the last 10 years, from Alan Siegel, one of the few still living legends of the branding world. He always emphasized, a few themes: never stop learning, don't be complacent, continue learning, be humble, but at the same time also, balance both this idea of individually in terms of the ambition for yourself and for your teams, be extremely bold. There's too little time for us left on this planet to accept sort of like just average. But at the same time, you know, be bold and be generous. Be generous with your time and be bold with your ambition. Maybe this is the generous part, giving back like I love to do and always hopefully do with Art Center. And at the same time being bold, because there is, you know, there's a sea of sameness. So designers and the ones that I get to work for and with every day, our ambition is to be bold, and hopefully some of this work showed that.
It absolutely did, Thomas. Thank you so much. And you are very generous and always giving back to Art Center. So we are very, very grateful for this really inspiring presentation today, for adding this global perspective to our Creative Tech Week. And we will follow up with the questions that we weren't able to answer due to time, and Thomas can respond to you. And that's also a wonderful way of creative networking, which we're always supporting our students to do. All right, everyone.
All right.
Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next chat. Absolutely.
Enjoy
Thank you,
the rest
Thomas.
of Creative Tech Week. Bye.
Absolutely. Thank you.